Welcome to this Physicians Anonymous Grand Round, held on October 24th, 2024. Physicians Anonymous is the only free, confidential, and anonymous peer support platform for physicians and medical students. By providing safe spaces, we reduce physician burnout, isolation, and suicide. We are a registered 501c3, not for profit, so donations are appreciated. Check out physiciansanonymous.org for more information. Today's talk is titled Tackling Imposterism and Building Confidence, and is presented by physician coach Dr. Amna Shabir.
Thank you, Dominic. Thank you. That was a very kind introduction, and I'm very proud to be one of the coaches for Physicians Anonymous, and I'm seeing some of my amazing colleagues in the room as well. Hi, Joe. I see you. So today we're here to honor early career physicians, and this is going to be the flow of the workshop. I'm going to be doing a little bit of introduction, some storytelling, then I'm going to be doing some myth busting and some disclaimer setting. Because before we build new habits, we need to talk about and challenge our current beliefs, and that requires a lot of myth busting, I would say. Then we'll do some tangible confidence building because it's time to take some action today. And to maximize your experience, I would recommend having a pen or paper or something you can type notes on anywhere and that you can interact. Pen and paper is the best way, but sometimes we just don't feel like writing and typing feels better. So whatever's your jam. At the end, I will leave space for an open Q&A. I know the session's supposed to be for 1 hour, but I'm here. A disclaimer that this session is being recorded, and so please anonymize yourself if you wish. None of this is professional, medical, legal, or financial advice, or really any advice. So if anything particularly specific comes up for you, please seek help from your doctors, lawyers, financial consultants, etc. I didn't put another disclaimer over here to model humanity. In full disclosure, I am solo parenting tonight and I have two little ones. One of them has a cold. So if someone little human makes an appearance, I will pause briefly just to give a hug because I am a mom as well. All right, everyone. So you're probably here. Thank you, Joe. I see the hearts. You're probably here because you're struggling with lack of confidence, low self-esteem, what we call imposter syndrome, or you feel challenged when you're speaking up and advocating for yourself. It could be any of these things. Most of you are in 20s and older, so the confidence struggle most likely did not begin overnight and will likely not be cured tonight. But if you keep an open and non-judgmental and focused presence, you will truly begin the process of confidence creation today. Like, I really would advise and request to just lean into that belief that maybe things can change today. Start the process of change. A little bit about myself. My name is Amna Shabir. As you know by now, I have different coach certifications. I am a physician anonymous coach. Clinically speaking, I'm a geriatrician internist. I am the founder and CEO of the Early Career Physicians Institute, as well as Amna Shabir Wellness Coaching. I am an ambassador for Dr. Lorna Breen Heroes Foundation, very passionate about mental health advocacy for healthcare workers. You by now know I am the supermom of two young girls. I put this over there because we don't talk about these roles. Nobody is going to have me put this role on my resume, and yet it is such an important role in my life. I'm also an ex-full-time primary care physician. I did that for about 4 years. I like to mention that to convey the full extent of my journey through burnout. So expanding on story, because Dom was very gracious to mention his story a little bit. And I'm passionate about helping early career physicians thrive in their life after medical training because I am the coach I wish I had as an early career doc. And when we look at pictures and stories in life, you see two images on the screen. One is this idyllic picture of me with my daughter. It looks lovely. And then the bottom picture, the frustration is conveyed through my face because this was before the vaccine even came, and I was practicing primary care full time in the outpatient setting at that time. And above also, it seems like what a wonderful picture. There's a baby and a mother, how adorable, except that I was in the depths of postpartum depression at that time. And I felt anything like what this picture is conveying. This was very different. So the postpartum depression happened twice, but with both my daughters. The first one, I was a resident at that time. I had physical health challenges that happened during training, after training. And when I started working as a primary care physician, despite being a primary care track resident who was aware of what she was getting herself into, I burnt out massively in the first couple of months. And I felt like such a personal failure. And it wasn't just burnout because I work in our traditional healthcare system, so it was moral injury as well. And I felt like I was failing everyone and I was failing at everything. So clearly, I don't have my life together at home. I'm not doing great as a physician. What's happening? So it felt like utter chaos. And this all happened in the very start of my career, which made me question as I would look at more seasoned clinicians and I would say, wow, they look like they're managing it fine. Clearly, the flaw is in me. I am the problem. So, what helped me most with all of this was creating confidence and advocating for myself, both at home and at work. So, confidence creation was the route at which I then further went and made changes. So, taking a pause over here and a pulse check for everyone in the room. This is a series of questions that I took from Valerie Young's book, which is on imposterism, the secret thoughts of successful women and men, why capable people suffer from imposter syndrome and how to thrive in spite of it. It's a great book. So answer yes or no for yourself with that pen and paper. Now is the time to start. First question, when things go wrong, I automatically blame myself. My answer was absolutely yes. When I make a mistake, I have a very hard time forgiving myself. Next question. I often walk away from conversations obsessing over what I said or failed to say. Next question. I remember every dumb thing I ever said or did. This is verbatim from the book, so I take even constructive criticism personally, seeing it as a proof of my ineptness. I beat myself up for not anticipating problems. And the last one, I always have to win. If I'm not winning, then I'm failing. How many of us probably answered yes to most of these questions? I would say a lot. A lot of us feel this way. And it doesn't have to be early career years, it can be even later on. Everyone around you does not have it all together. They might appear to have it all together, but they don't. And you are not alone. Shame thrives in silence and darkness. So you're young, you're in your early career years, you are supposed to have it all together. Even in residency, like, is the best time to ask questions as a medical student or as an intern, or when you become a second year or third year? Well, now you're an attending and now you definitely can't ask questions at all. So that's absolutely wrong. And we need to question that every step of the way. You deserve to feel confident and comfortable. It's not something that's going to happen later on by magic. You deserve to start feeling that way tonight. This can be learned and confidence can be created. Confidence is not a soft skill. Every time somebody says this to me, I dislike it so much. How is confidence a soft skill? Something that is going to specifically enhance and affect every aspect of your personal and professional life. It is the skill that will help you achieve everything in and outside of medicine. It is not a soft skill. So I would get very intentional and conscious about confidence creation. So we're talking about imposterism, we're talking about confidence syndrome. So when you hear the word imposter syndrome, what are some of the words that come to your mind? And the first thing a lot of people answered to me when I asked this question in multiple groups was rite of passage. Like, it's something we all have to go through, we all have to suffer, or lack of confidence. Some folks attribute it to unworthiness, hiding. For a lot of us, it's just painful. It's under earning, definitely, and people pleasing. It's never enough. So because you don't believe in yourself, you just have to constantly keep giving and giving, and for that fear that people pleasing. I like to use this definition for today's talk from Merriam-Webster. So, what is imposter syndrome? It is a psychological condition that is characterized by persistent doubt concerning one's abilities or accomplishments, accompanied by the fear of being exposed as a fraud despite evidence of ongoing success. Despite evidence of ongoing success. And I'll break it down later. But a little bit of the history surrounding imposter syndrome. So it was first, two of the clinical psychologists first identified it and then named the phenomena back in 1978. And no surprise there, originally it was considered to be a concern primarily for women. And now we know that's not true. It's present both in men and women. And it can be debilitating. It really can be. This is not like a cute thing that people have. So recognizing the impact is so, so important because if we don't recognize the impact, we're not going to do anything to change it. So taking that definition, and I want to break it into 3 points, which I will expand on for tonight. And these are the points of action. This is what will then help us create a plan for today on confidence creation and challenging the imposterism. So the first thing is mentioned is it is characterized by persistent doubt. Point number 2, fear of being exposed. Point number 3, despite evidence of ongoing success. So let's break it down. Step 1, let's reflect and question what is persistent doubt. Self-doubt, that's the point of impact here. This tells you that you do not feel worthy enough. The deep self-worth doubts will seep into every aspect of your being. This is how you doubt yourself, not just as a capable physician, but also in all other roles. I personally felt like I was a terrible primary care physician. And then, of course, I was not at all a good mother, and I'm probably failing as a wife and as a daughter and all these other roles. And when you doubt yourself as a doctor, it's really important to know your history. So can anybody drop in the chat who this gentleman is? Does anybody know? I'm going to look at the chat here. Okay. So far, I haven't gotten an answer. Going on. Okay. I appreciate that attempt, Joe. Um, Actually, no, this is, let's see. I see one other. John, nope. Okay. This is William Halsted. And William Halsted was in 1897 pioneered the first residency training in North America. Formerly, he was a surgeon at Johns Hopkins. And nobody really knew that when Dr. Halsted started his residency work hours, he also was in the middle of a cocaine addiction. And by the time we all found out that this was going on, 1897, this is more than 100 years ago. By the time everyone discovered his addiction, his teachings regarding residents had spread far and wide. And when this whole system was being established, if Dr. Halsted didn't sleep, neither did his residents. So if he didn't need sleep, neither did his team need sleep. And so when we talk about worthiness as a physician, as a trainee especially, look at what we're comparing ourselves against. And when I say this, some people get a bit offended that I am challenging his contributions to medicine and surgery. This is not what that's about. This is about you feeling a lack of confidence and lack of worthiness and self-doubt if you cannot sleep, if you cannot stay awake for 3 days straight. Like you trying to beat physiology as a human. So this is where the history of the residency programs sort of started, the most prominent history. Um, Anybody know who this young lady is? The two turning points, I would say, especially for residency training. Okay. This is Libby Zion, and unfortunately, she passed away in 1984. She was 18 years old, and she came to the ED with flu-like symptoms. The resident who was caring for her had not slept, and after that, the Libby Zion law came into effect where there was actual work hours put in place of some shape and form for residents. And so look at the time difference. So we're talking this is 1897 and this is 1984, which is not very long ago. So the performance yardstick against which we have all been measuring ourselves against and constantly, dangerously falling short. We need to be very aware of that. We need to be aware of what the culture that is around us. And then we're gaslighting ourselves like, oh my God, my friends they can stay awake for like 5 days and I need sleep every day like a regular human being. So we're measuring ourselves against that, how much work we can do, how much we can disconnect from our bodies, how much we can take. And so if you feel that lack of confidence and imposterism because of this, please don't. And this is what the myth busting part is. Please don't feel bad if you're measuring yourself against this yardstick because facts matter. You have been modeled uh, not enoughness. So if you constantly follow that model, you will never feel enough. And you can't be what you can't see. And this is exactly why we need to have these conversations where we can all acknowledge that sharing our badges of suffering is not some kind of Olympics that we're in. You can't be what you can't see. People around us need to talk about it. And I'm very pleased that a lot of people are talking about it. So tonight is about changing that. And that part involves um, absolutely questioning our self-doubt. Thank you, Joe. I saw that comment. Absolutely. It's part of our history and why we think this way. Um, so I want you to now take a reflective pause. We're tackling the first part of that definition of imposter syndrome. So do you feel like an imposter slash inadequate at work and in other roles of your life? Just answer whatever comes up for you as I ask some of these questions. Now think of one role in which you feel inadequate or like an imposter. Think of a time when you recently messed up in this role. So first think of a role. It can either be in your clinical role or it can be something at home. And then think of a time when you messed up big time in that role. And by big time, I mean what you perceive as big time. How did you talk to yourself at that time? Write those words down. We all have our favorite internal narratives. Write that phrase down. For example, my phrase used to be, "You're not good with numbers. You're not smart enough." I'm gonna, I have a timer over here. I'm just going to give like 10 seconds of silence as you work through this. Okay. Mm, okay. So you thought back of that one role when you messed up and how you talked to yourself. Now ask yourself this question. Would you talk to someone you love in the same way? Were they in your shoes? So think of a human or even your pet, any loved, beloved thing to you. Would you talk to that entity the way you talk to yourself when you messed up? So now think, what would you tell that loved one if they did exactly what you have just done? And I would urge you to write that down. So what would you say to that loved one if they had done exactly what you had done? I'll give you another 10 seconds. Okay. Thank you for sharing that, Frenny. I saw your response in the chat. So congratulations now. You have just practiced self-compassion. That's what it is. You just practiced tangible self-compassion. You were able to pause for a moment and dig in words and just reflect at how you would talk to somebody who you love when they do exactly what you did. And self-compassion is composed of three components. I love Dr. Kristen Neff's work. So self-compassion is self-kindness, common humanity, and mindfulness, all packed into one. Self-kindness sounds, it's self-explanatory. I'll just talk to yourself the same way, just common decency. I mean, you would give the same decency to somebody walking down the road. Imagine somebody in a white coat walking down the road. How would you talk to that person? Common humanity is this recognition that we are all in this shared human experience and you're not alone. And this is not to diminish your pain, diminish what you're going through. It's just more of a recognition that you're not alone. All of us, no matter what career stage we're at, we're with you. And at some point, we're where you're at. And then mindfulness. Mindfulness is, in a nutshell, it is what it is. Instead of over identifying or diminishing what's happening to you, just recognizing what's happening in a very almost neutral, factual way. And these three components together make self-compassion. But I wanted you to practice self-compassion before knowing the definition, because when you practice it, you see how simple it was, but it's repetition. That's where the key is. So imagine what it would be like if you always had your back, just like that one loved one. You know, we can all think of one human in our life um, that always we can go with whatever, and hopefully will receive love. Like, what if that one person was you for you? How can you be confident outwardly to the world when you view yourself with such unkindness? Now, we are expecting that our attendings, our senior physicians, other colleagues, everybody else should be kind to us. And meanwhile, we are berating ourselves constantly. So, how can you be outwardly confident? You have to be sold on you before the rest of the world. Internal validation is mandatory. External validation is unnecessary/optional at best. But internal validation is mandatory. And all of what you feel about yourself, it's not going to go away all of a sudden, but it can change. And all people in the room right now, and those who will see this recording, are intellectuals. I urge you to start recognizing where you might be hiding behind that intellectualization. Internal validation is mandatory. External validation is unnecessary/optional. So for this part of the definition of imposter syndrome, I want to specifically read one of my favorite quotes by Brené Brown. Don't walk through the world looking for evidence that you don't belong, because you will always find it. Don't walk through the world looking for evidence that you're not enough, because you will always find it. Our worth and our belonging are not negotiated with other people. We carry those inside of our hearts. Which brings us to step 2 now. In that definition of imposter syndrome, the second thing was this fear of being exposed. Oh my God, they're going to come find me. It keeps you shrinking and hiding. The fear of being exposed as a fraud. I have felt that fear many times in my life. And I would be lying if I still don't feel that fear. But I know how to manage it better. Not living to your full potential in all of life domains, under-earning, burnout, moral injury, you name it. So let's have another reflective pause. Write down maybe 2 or 3 ways, and even if you can come up with one way, that's fine. Anything that comes to your mind. 2 to 3 ways you are hiding behind this fear of being exposed. For example, not setting boundaries, being extra quiet during rounds, not asking for vacation time, working overtime, doing a lot more just because you're scared that someone's going to come find you. I'm going to set my timer again for 10 seconds. Okay. Now, as you try to think of what you're hiding from in those in moments, what do you think would happen if you were exposed? What's your core thought? So I wrote down my example underneath. My core thought was they'll find out I'm not smart enough. I'm just not smart enough. I just managed to be at the right place at the right time. I guess I got lucky. So I was so afraid of that. I'm going to set the timer so you can quiet down again and listen to that one core thought. What's going to happen if you were exposed? Okay. Now ask yourself this question. Is this statement of fear factual? So imagine you are an auditor, you're a bland, dry human coming from the outside and looking at this statement, and you just have to just check if it's true or not. For example, when I make the statement, I'm not smart enough, I ask myself this question, am I really not smart enough? No. I mean, I seem to have passed all my exams. And I have reached this learning and career stage. They keep giving me these passing scores. They keep letting me go through my rotations. They keep letting me pass my board certifications. They keep letting me do this and do that. So if I was really not smart enough, would I have made it to this stage? For the medical students listening to this, do not underestimate the journey that you have gone through either when I give these examples, because you had to go through so much. So if you are thinking the same way I was thinking, that's not factual. And like I said, many of you are thinking, I'm not smart. I just got lucky that time. And I put it in parentheses and all those other times, all the times you got lucky. And you're right. You did get lucky, but so did many others. Many have luck presented to them, but you maximized your luck, and that is a fact. And actually, this statement is derived from other research that Valerie Young also did regarding imposter syndrome and people feeling like it's because they got lucky. She said, yes, it's probably you did get lucky, but there are so many other people who had the same exposure, the same uh, situations that they had at hand. It's what you made of it. And so the step two was us questioning that part of your shrinking away from fear. And so step three is in the definition of imposter syndrome, it says, despite evidence of ongoing success, you're not going to think about your ongoing success. And what are the facts and evidence of your current life? Look at it. And your past life. Your confident future is sitting in plain sight and of the truths of your life. Leaning into those facts will help increase your self-confidence. Increasing self-confidence will help counter your imposter. So when I say the facts and the evidence of your life, let's break that down further. Let's pause again. Think back to an extremely challenging time in your life that you overcame successfully. It can be anything. We love to think about, well, what have I achieved personally and what have I achieved professionally? Newsflash, you are interconnected. You are one whole human. That's why I kept mentioning about my motherhood in the start. I am a mother and a physician. All your roles are linked. So think back to an extremely challenging time in your life that you overcame successfully. Did you think you would be able to overcome that challenge? And I'm going to give you 10 seconds to reflect again. Okay. Now that you've thought about that challenging time and how you felt at that time, how did you overcome that challenge? Answer this question for yourself. That really rough time in your life. And it can be any time, starting from your earliest memory to where you are right now. You are all interconnected. Okay. So now that you've thought about that challenging time in your life and how you overcame that time, write down 3 strengths you have that helped you persevere in that moment. Can you think of 3 strengths? It can be one word strengths. Thinking of that challenging time that helped you persevere in that moment. Okay. I know I'm rapid firing this a little bit. So now that you have had a moment to look inwards at your unique facts of your life, let's look at some of the facts that are widely applicable to your life as an early career physician. Did you know that by the end of residency, you have completed 12,000 to 16,000 hours of clinical training? This time does not include the time you were memorizing the Krebs cycle and the coagulation cascades. This is time at bedside. This is time next to the patient, 12,000 to 16,000 hours of clinical training. That is a lot of hours. The first day you start working, you will bring your institute the same amount of financial reimbursement as any of your seasoned colleagues. That's just a fact, a business fact. So when you are in the space of being with your colleagues, demonstrate professionalism, integrity, your values, but don't feel diminished as if you have to do some other scut work for X number of years before you can feel worthy enough. This is more of you just talking and looking at the facts. No one knows everything. No one knows everything. Nobody in this room, no seasoned clinician, any person who is actually a good doctor does not know everything, because the moment we start talking, medical science and data is being obsolete as we speak. So no one knows everything. And if you want to grow in your life, you will never know everything. Growth is equal to constantly not knowing. Constantly not knowing. It's just this unfamiliar, uncomfortable feeling constantly. So if you look at this ladder of you on the way, like today, you can imagine yourself when you started this session. You came here to conquer imposter syndrome, and you're looking up at that person who's going to conquer imposter syndrome, and you're looking up to become confident. And when you look up like that, it is very lonely. You probably are also feeling dizzy right now. But when you look sideways, you recognize you're not alone. Everyone in this room, it is a physical representation that all of us are with you. So look around you, look sideways. You are not alone. And look back without diminishing what you have accomplished at the facts of your life. Start from wherever you are. Elementary school, middle school, high school, college, medical school, residency, fellowship, early career clinician. I have had the distinct pleasure of also coaching mid and senior career physicians, including program chairs, program directors, and department chairs. And imposter syndrome does not magically evaporate till you make it or recognize what it is for what it is. And it's not just your academic journey on the side. Let's be honest, many of you have had physical challenges, mental health challenges. You might have faced bullying. You have had other childhood experiences, your traumas, the loss, the grief, the bereavement. We all went through the pandemic. You have had burnout and moral injury. You might have been burnt out before you started medical school. You have caregiving roles. You might be taking care of ailing parents, grandparents, children, and so much more that makes you a human being. And every day you do all of those things. Every day you show up to your work, despite, in spite, and everything, you should show up. So as we look back at this definition that we just broke down, Imposter syndrome is a psychological condition characterized by persistent doubt, which is the first thing we talked about. Persistent doubt is when we talk about yourself, your self-doubt, your thoughts about yourself. And a lot of that in medicine has been created because we have compared you consistently with ideals that were not ideal at all. The second part is that fear of being exposed, I'm going to be found. And we stopped and we paused and we examined that thought. Like, what's actually going to happen if you were found? Like, what's that core thought? Let's question it. All I'm saying tonight is if you leave with something, it's like question what you're thinking. And you feeling like a fraud despite evidence of ongoing success. This is evidence of your ongoing success and much more. Like the paper, the slide cannot hold the amount of things that you have already conquered. So the 3 points of action that we took for a first strategy was self-compassion. When there's self-doubt, you hand it self-compassion. You always have your back. You quit negotiating your worthiness, like Brene Brown's quote said. You quit negotiating your worthiness, including with yourself. Be sold on yourself. You are amazing. Strategy number 2, question the fear statement making you shrink and hide. Is it factual? Is it true? If you don't pause, and this is where, when you question the fear statement, you also are practicing mindfulness in that moment. Just pausing and slowing down when the flurry of like, you're not good enough, you're not worthy enough, this is all bad, they're going to find out, they're going to throw you out, you're going to get reported. Deep breath. Is any of this a fact? Like, I coach so many early career physicians around the fact that they're afraid of litigation. And as physicians, we are all at risk for litigation. And yet, every time all those physicians I have coached, none of them have ever had an actual case go wrong or something that was of impact. So, and that doesn't mean that it can't happen. But even before it happens, we're just revving ourselves up. So look at the facts of your own life and ask yourself this question, is it true? And the last strategy, look at again the facts and evidence of your life. Who are you? What have you conquered? Because for you to develop confidence into the future, you have to look back at all the things that you have already achieved. And you can start doing that right now, just like you did. Oh, yes, and breaking news, you do not have a syndrome. Despite this talk being on an imposter syndrome, you don't have a syndrome. I declare you cured. You're not broken. We love to pathologize things with diagnoses. Let's quit pathologizing you with a diagnosis. You don't have imposter syndrome. At best, we should probably use the term imposterism, which is what I like better than imposter syndrome. And you are resilient. Like JAMA 2020 has this put in there. You are tenacious. You are worthy. For those people who are still questioning if they are resilient among the audience, you can go and look up this article on resiliency. For myself, I laughed the other day. I recognized that I was actually tested during residency, and I was in the top cohort of the most resilient residents. And I burnt out in the first couple of months after. The resiliency is not the problem. You are resilient. You're really resilient, and you're tenacious and you're worthy. And these are facts. So ask yourself this question, everybody in the room, how many patients will you have to care for before you become confident? I mean, we talk about success and, we talk about these vague things like, let's make it more concrete. I kid you not, if there's like, sometimes we'll laugh when we hear this question because already by the time you're done with residency, you have between 12,000 to 16,000 clinical hours, 12,000 to 16,000. How many more hours do you need? How many more patients do you need to see? Is there a number? Because if there is no number, then you're just going to be running and exhausting yourself. And I just want you to say, like, if you don't have a number in mind, you can just tell yourself that but when you graduate, you'll be good. It's going to be enough. Second question, ask yourself, how many papers, if you're into research, how many papers will you have to publish before feeling adequate? Really, give yourself a number. And if your number is like 50 or 100, put it in writing, type it down, see how ridiculous it might look at this time. And that's okay. I have compassion for you. Once I started asking myself this question, like, how much will I have to do actually? How many years of anguish do you think you need to do your time before you'll get the relief of like, congratulations, Dr. So and so, you are officially declared cured of imposter syndrome and you're confident. Let's just give ourselves a break. So if there are numbers that come to your mind, put them down. Put them down. And again, those are core thoughts. Question those thoughts. I see a blurb in the chat. Thank you, Dr. Reichert. She's written, I was just a research fellow and I realized that no one reads our scientific publications anymore with few exceptions. I detached quickly from the number. After that, I wrote articles for Kevin MD instead. That's wonderful.
Hi, I have a question.
Yes.
So I am a resident, a PGY2
Hmm.
resident,
Hmm.
and I echo with whatever you have said. It's a wonderful presentation that you said, which I needed a refresher today. But my question to you is that what if we are aware of this syndrome and we are actively, when we go to work, ourselves are trying to tell ourselves that we are better, we are here to help people, but our surroundings, our co-residents and our attendings, they are instilling the continuous doubts in us. Like, or I would say, like, what if your environment in residency is not conducive to your professional and personal well-being? How do you manage that then?
That's a great question, Farah, and I appreciate you asking that. So that's exactly what I, in the first point, said, because before we start telling you all the things you need to fix, we also recognize the system that you are a part of, right? So the system that glorifies toxicity in a way, and I was lucky to not have that as a trainee. I had supportive environments. My primary burnout happened after training, but that I have seen firsthand the impact what that can create on your mental health when I saw my best friends and close friends go through it. So in this case, I think it's always important to remember they are not you. You are you. And the ability to separate that, and it's hard. It's hard when you are in this space of learning. You're trying to absorb everything, right? You're learning, you're trying to absorb everything. So first thing is to just know that they don't have a control over your brain. They don't control your thoughts. They don't change who you are. You're autonomous. You're a separate entity than all this toxicity around you, because sometimes you feel swept and absorbed by that toxicity. And the second question is, can you seek help on a more consistent and one-on-one basis? Are there places and spaces such as like Physicians Anonymous right here, where you can seek support and specifically bring very concrete things for help? So, for example, if there's a way you're presenting a patient that some feedback was given to you, so bring specific examples. Sometimes when you break down a very specific thing that happens, and you talk through it, you start building muscles that help you. And so I'm really sorry that you're, experiencing this right now. And I would just say that for this. And I know that this isn't like very helpful, and I'll expand a little bit more on it. But if there's one thing I want you to leave with today is just know who you are and recognize you should ask for more help and support so that during all this time you don't consistently absorb this. You need support. Okay. And
And just another question to continuation. I'm sorry for that. So, would the same strategy apply to family members or relatives also?
that's uh that's a bit complicated. And but
Okay.
I would say yes, it is. Because it's one and the same thing. When you learn skills, you can apply those skills at work and you can apply those specific skills at home as well. And one of the biggest skills in that sense is boundary setting and recognizing the toxicity that is coming towards you. Where is it coming from? And managing your energy better, managing your time better, and staying confident in who you are when everyone around you is trying to beat you down. So that's very important. But getting help, I would say, is the most important thing.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I know I talked about the number in your head, about how much you have to do before it is enough. I like this acronym, Q-tip. Quit taking it personally. Realize that just because you might feel inadequate doesn't mean you are inadequate. And this goes along to the question that was just asked. Again, this is courtesy of Valerie Young's work, because you have to separate what's happening, your feeling from facts. And once you're able to recognize the facts, there's nothing more powerful than facts. So in summary, the 3 points of action that we covered were self-compassion, always having your back and not negotiating your worthiness, questioning your fear statements that are making you shrink and hide, looking at the facts and evidence of your life. Keep working on these 3 points and repeat after me. I am enough, and I can continue learning from a space of enoughness. Do not confuse I am enough for I am complacent and I don't want to grow. It's very different. You can continue to grow from a space of enoughness. So I love the man in the arena, and I always read this when I am in the presence of early career physicians. I'm going to read this again right now by Theodore Roosevelt. It is not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again, because there is no effort without error and shortcoming, but who does actually strive to do the deeds, who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions, who spends himself in a worthy cause, who at the best knows in the end the triumph of high achievement, and who at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly, so that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. You are all in the arena. Know this. You are all in the arena, and you are all daring greatly. And this is, again, just saying this because right now we have cracked open some of the thoughts that you might be having about yourself, about imposterism. But there's also some overwhelm, and there's doubt, and there's self-criticism. It is not easy to create confidence, but it can be done, and you do not have to do it alone, bringing back to the point that you can ask for help, and help is out there. And this is not taught in medical education, and yet the day you graduate, the day you become an attending, you're supposed to know it all, have it all. The sliver of protection that you might have had as a trainee is gone, So with this, I know the conversation does not end here. I'm going to see you again on December 5th, 8 to 9 p.m. again, talking about boundaries. And I know we also specifically mentioned a little bit about boundaries just now. I also want to offer these free resources to you. You can scan this QR code. It will take you directly to my website. A whole page is filled with free resources. There's an ebook. There's a video library that you can access. There are a couple of resources that you can access that are free. And if anybody today who attended would like to is interested in seeking more support through one-on-one coaching, you're welcome to schedule a free 15-minute interest session with me. I'll drop that link over here as well. It's only available to the folks who are present here tonight and have seen me talk. I want to end with my gratitude right now for everyone being in this space, because taking your time out and then pausing and thinking that you're going to be able to help yourself, that's a big act of courage. So you already started the process of change, and thank you for being here with us in this time. So my gratitude to you. And yes, I am going to be here for anyone who wants to ask any questions from me, any thoughts, any comments. This is a safe space. I would be delighted to answer anything and try to make the answer helpful.